As concerns over the coronavirus continue to climb, the federal government is asking people to avoid all unessential travel. And with spring break just around the corner, this raises the question, are people protected from airline cancellation fees? Joining us now is Gabor Lukacs, the founder of Air Passenger Rights. Hi, Gabor. Thank you for joining us today.
Good evening.
So, Gabor, what do Canadians need to know when it comes to cancellations and changes to their flights?
There are three ways of getting a refund in this situation. First, if the airline made a change to your itinerary at some point, you have a right under the Air Passenger Protection Regulations to cancel and get a full refund. The second way is that many tickets are changeable even if they're not refundable. If you attempt to exercise your right to change the ticket, but the airline is not reachable, their phone lines are busy, they wouldn't pick up the phone for hours, then the airline is in breach of contract. And you as a passenger can say, I want now my refund, you didn't do your part of the bargain. The third way to get a refund, which is probably the most challenging one, is under the contractual doctrine of frustration of contract. The current situation is an unforeseeable circumstance which neither the airlines nor the passengers knew when the ticket was booked. Passengers cannot be expected to travel against the government advisory and put themselves and other members of the community into risk and possibly mortal risk. In such situations, the contract law principle is that the parties part ways as if the contract has never been made. The airline doesn't have to transport the passenger gets a full refund.
So what kind of protections are in place for Canadians if they're left stranded?
Being stranded is a separate problem. If you have already started your travel, the airline is required to transport you. However, just this afternoon, the government suspended some of the new air passenger protection regulations. So the airline would not be required, as of today, to rebook you on flights of other airlines with whom it doesn't have an agreement. It still has to try to get you back home. My advice to passengers who are stuck abroad is to get in touch with the Canadian Global Affairs emergency line and ask to be repatriated some way back home. They are Canadians. They have the right, constitutional right, to enter Canada.
And that forms part of my next question. What kind of resources are available to people should there be any problems?
What kind of problems are you referring to?
Well, just in terms of, flight cancellations, or perhaps, if somebody is unable to get a refund, say, if they decide not to travel, but they're not, say, getting anywhere, is there a certain resource, is there a place Canadians can turn?
We recommend Canadians who have trouble with getting a refund to take the airline to small claims court. The government is unfortunately not helping. It's very unfortunate that the Transport Minister, who has the authority to issue additional directions, regulations to solve the problem, is not doing that. Actually, the government is putting the public's health at risk by making people choose between their money and the health of their community.
All right, passenger advocate Gabor Lukacs, thank you very much for joining us here today.
Thank you very much for having me.